Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, no matter where you are on this bright, beautiful, right now it's like 80 degrees outside for me, planet of ours. Welcome to Ask an Arborist. I'm Matt Latham, Board Certified Master Arborist and Registered Consulting Arborist. I got some of those credentials or whatever back there that say I supposedly, I think that's a word, right? Know what I'm talking about. And we're here to answer y'all's questions. See, let me jump over here. We just started recently, what was that, earlier last year? We started this fun little Facebook group called Ask an Arborist. And it's essentially designed just to be a good, safe place. Everybody's looking for safety nowadays. Good, safe place you can go in, ask your tree questions. Because let's face it, trees are so stinking important to our lives. And unfortunately, my industry has not done a wonderful job of making it a safe place where you get, just like medical industry, where you can go into a doctor and they're probably going to know some things. Unfortunately, even certified arborists must be questioned nowadays. In fact, I did a while back a YouTube video, and if you haven't checked out our YouTube, it's a little bit different name. It's Arborist on Demand. Just go over there and look for that, or look for my name. I'm tagged in most of them, most of the videos we put out there. But we just did that video about how to look for a proper professional. Because I'm going to be honest, my industry, we don't hire the doctors and the attorneys of the world. And this time of year, you get some guys that get a little desperate. Now, I am a consultant. I've got plenty of court cases right now going on, and some other big projects, because quite frankly, winter is actually the best time of year to do things. But for those of us where it's not 80 degrees outside, we don't go outdoors as much. My wife and I were kind of fortunate. We got to spend 2 winters in New Jersey, and I really loved it. But the first one was awesome, just hands down. We had a great time. Second one, it got kind of cold, and maybe like a month too long. It was kind of what our general consensus was. My wife and I were like, man, if it were just like 1 month less, it would have been great. But you don't go outside as much, so you're not seeing those big, beautiful, towering giants or green pets out there, or trees, nearly as much as you would during the summer, during the spring, when we tend to get outdoors more, and even during the fall when we go drive down the lane and we see all the golden and red rain leaves coming down. Man, I've got to find some of the videos I took back in the good old days back in New Jersey, and maybe make a couple of videos about that, because fall is really a unique time. Now we're getting into winter, so we've done a couple videos that I'm going to be doing some shorts posting out there. So head on over to YouTube, and it's Arborist on Demand. And anyways, by the way, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's, you guys. I know it's been a couple of weeks since we've been on here. My wife and I actually finally, for the first time after kids in quite a while, took a break, a much needed break, had the family members come in and kind of take the kiddos over to grandma's house and all that. We had a great time together. It was much needed. And so we are back in action, looking forward to an exciting year. This time of year, right now, I am working on the final touches on my book. I know we've talked about that several times, and that's going to be finished this winter, I believe, if everything goes according to plan. So really looking forward to getting that out there. Essentially, it is the complete fool's guide, the complete idiot's guide, copyright, to owning a tree. This goes from everything from picking out a tree at the nursery, to planting a fruiting orchard, to taking care of and pruning and hiring the right professionals to help you find just the best tree care that you can, because quite frankly, trees are a living, breathing, eating, and appreciating asset. And again, they provide so many benefits to our lives. So with that being said, thank you all for being here. Again, this is Ask an Arborist, and we're going to go through y'all's questions. We've had some great ones. We're getting a little bit behind, although I've tried to be, typing out some of my answers just to make sure to get y'all covered. But we're going to be going through this a little rapid fire mode tonight, and Lucas, keep me on point with that if you would, please. If I start talking too much, which I tend to do, then just tell me to move on, and we will. But we're starting off tonight, Mr. J Server. By the way, if you are on YouTube as well, come on over to our Ask an Arborist Facebook group. We're up to almost 5,000 members now, and we're having a great time. It's really cool to me to see a lot of people are asking questions. They get responses, and then the ice cream truck just drove by my house. That's how warm it is here in Houston, stinking Texas. And but anyways, Yeah, we are almost up to, what's that, 4,969. We were trying to get that number up to 5,000 by the New Year's, but hey, a week behind. I'm totally down, you guys. We're crushing it. We are growing by leaps and bounds. We've grown at times by as much as 400 people per week, and it's been really overwhelming. We've been trying to keep up as best we can. What's that? Ooh, Lucas brings up a good point, you guys. Head on over to the YouTube channel and do me a favor. Let's grow over there as well. So if you're watching this, that would really help us out. Head on over to YouTube. It's Arborist on Demand. Just give us a like and a subscribe on some of these videos. Go ahead and like them. That really helps to get the word out because we're trying to create a good, safe place again for you to get good, solid, professional, expert level tree care because it's really hard to find, unfortunately. So we're getting right into it. Jay Server, I believe it was asking a very good question. And this is a great question because everybody needs to know this. There's a website called treesaregood.org or .com. And you would be very wise to head over there when you are in search for a qualified quality arborist. Obviously, there's more to it. And so let me see here. I'm going to go ahead and post my my video about how to find just 7 quick questions you can ask your potential arborist to see if they might be of good quality, to see if they're gonna like destroy your trees or not. But even certified arborists, you want to go ahead and vet them, make sure they're who they say they are. And so hit that. I just posted that link there. Go head on over there, watch that video, and I'm working on some shorts putting out there for that video as well, just to kind of make it into fun little snippets. So Jay, great question. Let's head on over there. treesaregood.com. I'll go ahead and send you the link too, buddy. So right here, there's a button here. Jay, it says verify credential. We're going to click on that button. That's going to take us over to the isa-arbor.com's website, a little side piece there. And here you can type in anything, like, check it out. We'll just go ahead and look me up. Latham. There's other Lathams out there? That's gross. Okay, here I am. Yeah, Board Certified Master Arborist. So that's one way you can check. What's that? Yeah. I guess there's 4 Lathams. We're gonna have to form a club or something, you guys. I'm gonna reach out to y'all. But yeah, here I am. Right here, you can verify anybody in the world as to whether or not they're who they say they are. You can also look this up by certification number. So there's me. But check this out. If we want to look by profile name, recipient ID, maybe. TX-3737B. There I am right there. So if they give you their arborist certification number, then you can go ahead and click on that as well. But super simple way to verify somebody. And it's, again, that website is treesaregood.org or .com. And you can go ahead and just head on over there. And whoever you're looking for, again, first of all, make sure they're a certified arborist or greater. And that's going to be just like at least a baseline. Make sure you're getting a certified arborist to care for your trees. Don't get your tree monkeys and your landscapers and all that. If they got missing teeth, I'm sorry if I offend somebody. I too have had close calls, but fortunately I've had face masks most of the time. Kept all my teeth all pearly whites. I did get a few chips here and there, but nothing crazy. A lot of tree guys miss teeth because of carabiners and such. But all right, we're moving on. Actually, I meant to post that here. Sorry, Jay. treesaregood.org. And that'll give you a verify credential tool. And just go on there and search them out. See if they're who they say they are. All right. Pipe J Queen is saying, I am in central Wisconsin. I have these pine trees that I planted 15 years ago. I failed to trim them ever and was looking into trimming bottom for airflow, stay a foot to 2 feet up. I've read in the past it's best to do over winter to avoid the bugs at the cut site. Sort of true. Yeah, all the bugs are dormant. Now, it's kind of yes and yes. There's a good, better, best. The winter probably would be the best, but there's actually research too that shows that wounds seal much more slowly when they have winter pruning done to them. So, it's kind of a give and take. I will say this though. Okay, so let me answer your questions first. Sorry, Pipe. When is a good time to trim them seasonally? I like winter. That's a great time. Hey, what's up, newbie? I will get to your question here in just a second. Let me finish with pipes. How much can be trimmed? It's that's okay. I'm not going to be the grammar Nazi here. At a given year, you always want to go minimalist, but I think trimming those trees that are 15 years old, a foot or two up is probably negligible. You're probably okay. Not a big deal. If you can avoid removing whole limbs and just reduce limbs to kind of spring up. So if you've got a branch that's like this and you remove the bottom three, that'll kind of lift some of the weight up and the branch should spring up. It'll at least be redirecting that growth upwards. So that's a great way too. But you never want to go more than 25%, but doing what you're saying you're going to do seems like not a big deal. Okay, so let me get to the second question first, because I don't think that's a pine. It looked to me like a spruce, maybe a fir, but I think Douglas, no. I don't know. Spruce, I'll be honest, I've spent most of my career in Texas, so I don't know spruce fir pines as well as I do my deciduous oaks and such. The blue stuff, it almost looks like pitch tubes that kind of froze, but yeah, that's what I'm going to call it. I'm going to call them pitch tubes. Sometimes little fungal pathogens will grow on the sap. They'll consume the sugars and all that. I do see kind of a slightly concerning. Okay, so let's do this, Pipe Queen. I'm going to go ahead and do a solid one for you. I'm going to open up Paint, and I'm just going to give you an image. How's that sound? Because I can tell you exactly what I would do pruning-wise, and that'll be a little less impactful while still giving you the results you want. Okay, so we're going to do save image as. I don't care. I just want to save it. And then we're going to do this. And then we're going to do this. Hello? Oh, wait, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to copy the image. And then I want to paste it here. Whoa, got a little crazy there. Okay, so, Pipe, what you can do is make small cuts here. Oops, wrong tool. Brushes. This thing. I'm going to go thick. So you can make small cuts like that. That will essentially redirect the growth upward. So now you're removing this section right here. That takes away a lot of weight. And that will help to kind of spring the branch up. And so I'll just go ahead and save this for you in Pipe Queen. Oops, I didn't realize y'all were looking at me. Sorry, that's weird. You don't want to look at me. You want to look at trees. That's why you're here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and say I would just make light pruning wounds like the ones I'm about to post here. Hello? All right, well, that's thinking. Looks like my son just showed up, so it's probably video games slowing us up. And then I'm almost to you, newbie. Give it just a minute here. Okay, well, that's ridiculous. All right. Let's refresh. Okay. I think we're back in action. What is this? We got another one? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Here's what we do. Y'all know what we do with these guys that come in and spam this group thinking they're actually going to get tree work out of the deal? Look, they got a whole 4 posts reached, and we're just going to do... Yeah. I don't know, but cut and chip, you broke the rules, buddy. I'm sorry. You got to go. No, it slipped through. Looking for a reliable tree service and wherever. No, we're still talking about this one. Sorry, for whatever reason it just froze up on me. I couldn't post that picture. I made this lovely picture for Pipe Clean, and I was trying to deliver the picture, and it's just not by. They got banned. Okay, I don't know why it's not letting me post that. Moving on though. Let's try some other things. I'll come back to that pipe clean. If not, I'll figure it out later. So the Google Street View got a better picture than I expected, LOL, but what I can see, what can I do for the shorter tree in the front that looks half dead, unalived? Excuse my language, face webs. Is there anything I can do for the spring, or is it just done? Ex-wife said they used to hack at it back in the late 90s and early O's for clearance for play yard games, but about 60% or more of the tree looks unalived to me, non-professional arborist. Yeah, I'm not seeing good things. I mean, that's for sure. Let's see, where that picture post, yeah, Pipe Queen. Yay! Here we go. All right, there we go. Excuse me. By the way, whatever that little cough, that's going around, that really got me this year really good. Hopefully I'm not going to pass out. That's, whew, sorry guys. Yeah, I'm going to go to, okay, so newbie, I'm sorry, man. I totally was having some tech issues and all that, and then I got distracted, and here we are not answering your question. But let me go to you a little bit. Yes, there's some great ones. Plant healthcare is a great one. Integrated pest management. The ISA study guide is a great place to start. But if you really want to go deeper, there's some. Let me show. I'm drawing a blank on the names exactly on the books, but let's go through here. This is one of my favorites. Wood decay fungi. That's it. Christopher Luley. Sorry, Christopher. You're a legend, buddy. This is one of my favorite books. Mine actually got moldy, and I had to throw it away. So now that I'm thinking about it, I'm going to do that because that just needs to happen. That's a really good. It goes over like the top 3 and then some of the more common ones you're going to find, but it goes into great detail on each one of them. So this would be one of my favorites. Newbie is is right there. Wood decay fungi by Chris Luley. I have the first edition actually. I need to update my edition anyways. But then there's James Urban's Up by the Roots. That's a really, really good one. It goes through so much. Let's see what they say. Highly reverent policy decision making studies the basic science of soil, trees, and soil condition analysis. That's going to be the foundation, by the way. So whenever I look at like plant healthcare or diseases and treatments and such, the more I know, newbie, is this is for you, buddy. I hope you're not distracted by the kiddo, but if you are, like, just rewind this. I'm going through a couple of them. Up by the Roots is a classic. It's just a wonderful book. I recommend it to like any arborist getting in is going to tell you about the soil science. That's where it starts, by the way. There's another guy by the name of Thomas Dykstra, Dr. Thomas Dykstra. So generally speaking, if you've got a healthy soil, then you're probably going to have a healthy tree. Now, there's, of course, variations and exceptions to that rule. But, yeah, there's, man, think about it this way. If you don't live in the city, if you live out in the forest, you never have ticks give you Lyme disease, you never get a disease, how much healthier would you be? Let's say our oxygen levels in the atmosphere were 10 times what they are now. How much healthier would you be? You know, I don't know if that's a realistic even possible number, but like there's so many things that if all the conditions were right, they call it dis-ease, right? Or if you're looking at it that way, dis-ease. It's not. It's disease is typically happening when your body is like compromised, is stressed in some capacity to a point where it just can't manage dealing with the stress and with the problems itself too. And just normal functioning, and like it takes energy to live, y'all. I don't know if you knew that, but I love the verse. God upholds the universe by the power of His word, and it turns out there's a strong and a weak nuclear force that essentially bind all atoms together, and that's pretty crazy, y'all. There's I think they said like 100 million suns is how much the background radiation energy is in a 1-inch cube of space. I don't know what that means. I'm not a theoretical physicist, but anyways, I hope that answers your question. Those would be my two favorite ones. Let's look at maybe some other ones. Uh-oh, I got to hit the snooze button on this baby. Hold on, y'all. She's not supposed to wake up this soon. Maybe I'm yelling too much. Anyways, Up by the Roots is always great. Abiotic disorders. Oh, that's a fantastic one, newbie. And then I absolutely get the best management practices for, I think it's soil management, urban forestry bundle, plant healthcare bundle. That's the one you want to look for. So that's going to go into multiple different facets. Best management practices. This is like just pure information. Just like pure information. You will be overwhelmed with information. And that's all it is. Tree and shrub fertilization, tree injections, which avoid them if you can. Integrated pest management. Integrated pest management is more, to me, plant healthcare and integrated pest management. Integrated, they're kind of one and the same, but they're also very separate. Plant healthcare is going to focus more on the soil sciences. Integrated pest management is going to tackle more of the fertilization and the nutrient management, and just overall preventing diseases and then dealing with diseases if they happen. And so you generally want to prevent them if you can. That makes you a better arborist, by the way. So do that, newbie. And I appreciate you wanting to learn more, man. Let me know if I can ever help. It's info@arboristondemand.org. Y'all quit sending me spam. I don't know if that's you guys or not, but maybe I keep giving my email away too much. But Thomas Dykstra, he's a cool guy. He's coming actually to speak in Houston, and I am signed up to go on the 26th. But you can look up his website, dykstralabs.com, and that's where I would start, is on the soil science, keeping the tree healthy. If you can do that, then you are good to go. Anyways, sorry, Kevin, I got distracted here. Lucas, if you don't mind adjusting the timestamp for that, that'd be good. That'd be really helpful. Yeah, I'm looking at this tree, and I don't have a lot to go off of. I really wish I could see the base of the tree. So, Kevin, if you don't mind, Wicked Smoker, I'm assuming that's brisket. What you got, Lucas? Talk to us.
All this debris laying on. There may be a bunch of this that we can't see by the tree trunk, which is compressing the soil around.
Yeah.
Which is probably making it toxic, and is why the foliage is just dying on top of the tree.
Yeah, I think Lucas brings up a really, really good point. What he was saying, if you couldn't hear, is there's all this trash and muck and debris over here. You got lawnmowers piled up here, maybe leaking oil, maybe not. You got all these things going on, and that all is going to compact the soil. Now, I don't know about you guys, but if I can't breathe, I'm probably not going to be doing very well. And, you might have remembered back recent history, there was a whole thing about that. And so if trees actually breathe a little different than you and I do, they breathe through their roots. And they also breathe through their the openings in their leaves and in their trunks and branches, actually, called lenticels. And so trees breathe. They need to breathe as much as we do. On every cell in their body has to breathe. And so oxygen's a big part of that. Obviously, carbon dioxide is used for the photosynthesis process and very important for trees, as well as water. That's what the leaves use to create C6H12O6. So there's your little biology lesson, or maybe organic chemistry. I don't know. That's glucose is what the leaves produce. And that becomes the building blocks for the whole tree. So as your tree is unaliving back here, Kevin, it's not good, obviously, and I think maybe what Andre is saying, come back to life, perform a crown reduction to make more compact. that maybe is the best strategy here. I'll be honest though, you got to correct all that stuff at the base. If your root flares do not flare out really big, you've got to get that soil off of them and maybe cut any girdling roots. Because what I see is kind of a very big long-term problem on this particular half of the tree that we're looking at here. And I don't see that going away without taking away the stressors. It also looks like a silver maple, and those are not great trees to have, generally speaking. They don't last long anyways, so not uncommon, but maybe look at the root flares and look at what's causing that whole side to unalive. There's something there on that exact side that's maybe blocking the vascular tissue from being able to transport. Maybe it's some sort of fungal pathogen has destroyed that tissue on that side. I don't know, but that's just not a lot to go off of here, Kevin. If you could maybe send me a picture of the base of it, and as well as maybe a close-up of a leaf or two, that would be really helpful. All right, moving on. Gold goose, 6 foot tall osmanthus that would like to turn into a rounded bush. Can I just cut it off? Yes, but I really need to see pictures. Gold goose. That would be my first thing is like, you got to give us pictures. That's actually part of the rules, and I would love to maybe give you a better answer, but I have no idea what I'm looking at here. In general, yes, just like you would bonsai a tree by continuing to prune it back. It's I don't know. What is that? I think it's in the olive family, right? I don't know that one real well. I think they're in like California, maybe. But that's not a real common one, or at least here where I'm from. So yeah, generally speaking, yes, you just need to reduce it back and reduce it back and reduce it back. Avoid cutting it at like just a random place. What you could do is, what's best is, let's say you've got one branch. Well, you've got a lot of branches, obviously, and they're all going to be like multi-stemmed, branching out like that. And so your best bet is to cut it back to a branch union. But if you can't, osmanthus, I know olive can be pretty good at compartmentalizing. So that's just one option, is just reduce the canopy height back by removing those branches that keep going. That's your best cut. But worst case, you can always top it and hope for the best. That's not ideal though. If you can cut it back to a branch union, that's far, far better for your tree. So hope that helps. We're moving on. Julie Constable, I'm in Central Wisconsin. No, that's not right. Julie is asking about her Gigantonormo live oak, it looks like. I bought my home 5 years ago in Mobile, Alabama. This tree was my whole reason for buying the home. I got a good friend of mine. He's a fellow board certified master arborist and registered consulting arborist, and he's actually an attorney. And he says, he jokes and he says, "Yeah, we bought the tree and the house came with it." So I get that, Julie. I totally get that. I'm a thirsty girl. So my whole reason for buying the home, but now I'm starting to notice some things going on with it and scared it's going to fall on my little house. Do you know what the cause of the gray areas and the white fungus growing on the branches? And is this a critical issue? I don't see. Zoom in a little. Yeah, that's all lichen. That's actually not bad, Julie. I don't see any problem with that. Now, you may have a Mobile, Alabama. I'll answer that here in just a minute. That's kind of an odd question. Lucas, do you see that odd question? Okay, so getting back to Julie, you do have like this little staining that can be a bacterial infection like wetwood. Not common with live oaks, but it could. The green stuff you're seeing here is resurrection fern and algae, lichen rather. That's totally normal. Actually, a good thing. And so we've got white stuff. That's an unalived limb. You want to get rid of that limb, actually. Back to green tissue. That is I'm not sure exactly what specimen. What you can do is go to this website right here, and I'll post that on the main one. Yeah, I agree with Joseph. This branch needs to be pruned back to the union. The heading cut's likely invited the white rot. That's what that is. It's a white rot fungus, and it's gonna eat the cellulose and the lignins, and basically break down the structural integrity of that. That's what gives the cellulose and lignins. That's kind of like the glue and the pipes that hold it together. That's the strength of the tree. That's why trees can live for, hundreds of years and grow hundreds of feet tall even sometimes. So I do see this could be like, we talked about bacterial wetwood or some sort of slime flux. That could also be like a water mold type fungus, some sort of vascular wilt fungus even. That could be like a bleeding wound canker. And cankers are typically going to be fungal. Sometimes they're pathogenic, but not as common. So that could be something there. I'm not really concerned with that though, Julie. Live oaks tend to handle and compartmentalize that stuff really well. And speaking of compartmentalization, this is exactly what I'm talking about. So if you see here, Julie, something happened here. I would guess maybe 50 years ago, 40, 50, 60 years ago even, where something caused that limb that was growing right here, I think, to fail and rip off, and it tore that big chunk of that off. Now it is gone. It's obviously decayed and just no longer there, but that is what the tree does. It compartmentalizes these wounds. So I think you're actually in really good shape. But I can't remember the guy's name. Joseph. Yeah, Joseph brought on a great, you're so silly. Joseph Soilo, this branch needs to be pruned back properly to the union. The heading cuts likely invited the white rot. I agree, and maybe you don't need to. There's actually some new research out there on compartmentalization that says maybe that's not quite as necessary. But it definitely, I wouldn't swing on that branch. You got the big rope swing there. Okay, regarding vagrant loafers question, no. On books about treatments. Yeah, no, I kind of answered that. He was actually live. We were talking to him, so we got that one answered. But Vagrant Loafer's asking if I get freaky with trees, though. Well, there's two things at play here. One, define freaky. B, if it means what I think you're saying, that's weird, y'all. Trees are not sentient. I'm a one-woman kind of man. That's, no. But if you're talking about getting freaky, like climbing them and going ninja mode, yes, absolutely. Not anymore so much. I'm kind of like getting old and fat, but no, homie, don't play that. And also, I definitely was a competition climber for about 5 years, so I would call that freaky. That was crazy. We did some crazy stuff up there, y'all. We used to practice out in the forest. We'd go pick the biggest, baddest trees to climb and like race to the top. It was great fun. So actually, we trained a lot of new and upcoming arborists that way too. So it was really cool to watch the whole Dallas arboricultural scene. Y'all were like cool like that. We got our own scene. And we would watch this. We watched it kind of grow up over about 10 years. I became a certified arborist in 2010, and I started competing in really 2012. And it was, we just go out and find the cool trees, and then people would want to join us. And we built this whole little community. I don't know if that was the driving force, but it really did bring some awesome competition guys into the scene. And we got a lot of people excited. It was fun to watch. And some of y'all, Andrew Machuca was there, Jimmy Pritchard. There's a bunch of guys that we used to hang out in the forest, just play. It was fun times. But anyways, yes, if that's what you mean, Vagrant, I got freaky with trees. If it means something dirty and raunchy, then no, that's weird. Can anyone help with the diagnosis? I'm in Charleston, South Carolina. My big oak. I don't know. Hold on. I already got the answer for you right here. My big oak has been having issues and I'm stumped. Oh, I get it. I see what you did there, Dwayne. That's good. I can't physically find any bugs. Could it be fungus? Bark is coming off more and more. I don't think it's shedding for growth. Thank you in advance. Edit. I'm not convinced it's a lightning strike. Me neither, by the way. Dwayne, I would definitely question that, because there's a lot of people that just look at that and they're like, oh, lightning strike. See, it's a line. No. 9 times out of 10. Actually, I think it was Guy Mayor. Lucas, if you don't mind tagging him, that'd be good. Guy was talking about that in a post. I can't remember, LinkedIn or Facebook the other day. And he said, He said 9 times out of 10, I think. And I've seen the same. People are like, oh, it's a lightning strike. I saw it. I saw it with my own eyes. And it turns out it was not. It was not a lightning strike. So that's, anyways, distractions aside. Well, it could be we haven't had a major storm and I haven't had any debris. I want to seal it up, but I don't want to trap any bugs. Also, you can see where it stays moist. Okay, you got to keep it from staying moist. That's your first thing, Dwayne. Thanks to everyone helping. I truly appreciate it. It's a beautiful tree and older than most of my neighborhood. I could see that. You want to listen to Ronald here? He's a board certified master arborist and registered consulting arborist too, one of the best in the world. And the idea that it could be lighting a sound, it could be. The idea that a majority of the heartwood is gone and the tree should be removed is ridiculous. I think you're spot on, Ron. Way to go. I suggest you get a qualified consulting arborist out there to actually evaluate the tree, one who doesn't have a financial interest in removing the tree, and one who actually knows what he or she is looking at. That is the truth, and that's exactly why I became registered. Yeah, so Lucas is saying something, and this is, well, there's a root flare. I see in this picture. Although that could have been another limb that grew off of there, too, that I'm looking at. It does drop straight down into the ground, and Lucas makes a really good point. This is one of those things that not enough arborists are talking about, but more should. Anytime you see a tree and it drops kind of straight into the ground, so like, where's my harassers? Uh-oh, I turned the wrong way here. All right, so if you've got a tree and it drops straight into the ground, that's a very bad thing. That typically means you've got something obstructing this, like a girdling root, sometimes even like a conduit pipe, or sometimes like a root barrier, or not root barrier, but a like a landscape barrier of sorts. I gotta get that adjusted a little bit. It's kind of wonky out there. I'll try to yell. So what you want is you always want to see the root flare out nice and big on every angle. And what you'll typically see is it'll kind of branch off into multiple different roots. Like a terrible artist, by the way. But that's kind of what you want to see, is you want to see it kind of branch off like that, or at least begin to. You don't want to see like surface roots, because that typically means there's some sort of compaction in the soil, and the tree roots are literally coming up for air. Typically, they want to grow deep into the soil profile to access more minerals, more water that it normally wouldn't if it was just on the surface level. When it's on the surface level, that typically means one of two things, or both. You've got a compacted soil and you've got irrigation that's running very shallow and not getting deep into the soil profile. So we call it gravitational water. You want to make sure your soil is getting irrigated when it does, if it does. Typically, by the way, you don't want to irrigate. If you can avoid irrigation, do that. It's way better. What you want to do, though, is slow and infrequent. So most people have these high output irrigation systems, or they'll like flood it with a hose or something like that. I'll tell you the best way that I like watering my trees, and what I recommend to my clients, is you want to make sure that you use like a soaker hose. Drape it all over the root zone. Turn it on at night before you go to bed. When you wake up in the morning, go turn it off. That's going to be hopefully 8 hours. Realistically, probably 6. But you're still going to get about 2 to 4 inches of water. Most of it's going to remain in the soil, not get evaporated, not run off into the street and into our drinking water system. But it's actually going to get to where you designed it, where you wanted it to go, which is the tree and the shrub and the plant and the grass roots. And so soak rows is best. If you can't, just make sure you run it for like a very long period of time, and maybe once a week. Realistically, it's better once every 2 weeks or even once every month. Most of and that's during drought periods. Once every 2 weeks is great. And your tree doesn't need more than that. Your grass might, which is unfortunate. Yeah, you're better off with a mulching. But anyways, let's get back to the question here. So what's going on here, Dwayne, is you had something destroy this tissue. And I think Lucas may be onto something. I think you might have a girdling root down there at the base. Where do we see it? Not that one, not that one. Right here. Yeah, it looks like something is obstructing that root flare from expanding the way the tree wants it to. And so you want to get rid of that. Maybe dig down there and find it out. Find out if there's anything down there. Be gentle, obviously. And if you can find a good certified arborist or board certified master arborist with an air spade, that's even better. But I think you've probably got some issues where that unalived at some point. And then what I'm seeing here, Dwayne, correct me if I'm wrong. Oops, that's the one. Oh, there it is too. If you see this tissue right here, that's callus tissue. That's the tree sealing and doing its job. And I saw it here too. Is you've got this new tissue coming in. That's literally the tree sealing that wound. It has multiple layers of protection where it's designed to compartmentalize decayed tissue. So as the fungal pathogens grow and try to consume that hardwood, the tree is actually going to continue to set barriers to prevent it unaliving the entire tree. So I think Ronald's right here. I think you got to have a full inspection on this one. I'm happy to do it digitally. Just hit up arboristonDemand.com and just here, I'll give you a link here. But I'd love to help you out if we can. But realistically, you're maybe better off getting somebody local that's TRAQ certified, that's track, or a board certified master arborist. One of those two guys are actually going to understand the physics of the tree. And so we're moving on. Hope that helps, Wayne. Live in WNC. I have a big oak tree in my horse pasture a few years ago. 2 bandito horses decided to start chewing at the bark. Now there's a huge scar left. I see that. And you got schizandria fungus. I was poking around at the tree today and noticed what I think is white rot. I'm wondering if this tree can be salvaged or is it too far gone? Horses do that, especially if you have a kind of a healthy tree and it's like a mulberry or a pine or I've seen it a lot on pecans. Mulberry's the most, I think. But a tree with a high sap flow, there's going to be a lot of sugars, especially if the tree is doing really healthy. It's going to produce a ton of sugars. And at night, it's going to push those sugars down into the ground. What happens is, this is God's infinite, brilliant design, is all those sugars that the tree produced are then going to feed the microbes that are going to help the tree get nutrients and water later on. All these beneficial endo and ectomycorrhizae and beneficial bacteria are down in the soil. They form a whole ecosystem, and the tree makes the food that feeds those microbes. It's so brilliant, y'all. It just blows my mind. Here's what I will say. I think that is a disease called schizandria, and it is typically a unalive sentence for your tree, Megan, but I do see it isolated to only non-living tissue. That's the key here. If that is the case, if it is 100% off of the tree, off of the living portion of the tree, then you might be able to salvage the tree. But realistically, I think you got a pretty low shot here. I'm just going to be real with you. Those horses, they have done a wonderful job of destroying half of the cambium of that tree. Imagine if somebody came in and ripped out half of your arteries. Probably not going to go well. So sorry to be crass, but unfortunately that is a big loss for the tree. If you do decide to keep the tree, it's going to be an uphill battle. Your best bet is to A, keep the horses off of it. B, make sure that the tree is structurally sound. That may require some canopy reduction, some structural pruning to establish a strong canopy. That may require some fungal treatments in the now living tissue. Hey, thanks for the question, Lux. Let me get to that here in just a minute. Give me just a minute. I'm going to go finish this one, and then we're going to get to yours. But yeah, if you do keep it, it's going to be an uphill battle. I will say this, though, is that's a deciduous tree of some sort, obviously, and it looks like if the tree were to fail, it would go that way. And if it were to do that, it looks like the worst case is maybe some chicken coops or some little sheds of some sort, maybe a grain feed here for the deer. So anyways, yeah, that's unfortunately those awesome horse friends did a lot of damage on there, and yeah, it's not looking too good. But you definitely want to get that looked at, a tissue sample sent off. You can find your agriculture extension here at this link I gave you. And again, if you want to do a digital consult, I'm always happy to look at it closer in person and give you my humble 2 cents. All right, moving on. Anonymous participant. We bought this house about a year ago. From afar, our spruce tree looks good, but how severe is this needle casting? Can we save the tree? Not bad. Yeah, I don't see that bad at all. I don't know spruces very well. Maybe somebody else. Oh man, that's a gorgeous looking tree. Yeah, we actually can rate conditions of trees, and I would rate that on a at least a 7 or 8. It's got really good form, a little bit of kind of growing in the wrong direction here. But yeah, I think you're fine actually. And I'm sorry, Lux. I told you I was going to get to yours after that, and then I just kept going. Force a habit, buddy. Sorry.
Uh, you can always give it beneficial probiotics.
Yeah, and then Lucas brings up a good tree or a good point. Is you can always do like beneficial probiotics and such, and we do. Let's see if I can find it here. These are things that we offer and we sell them. I actually don't. Somebody was like accusing me of like, oh, I'm getting rich off of these things. But I don't. I don't even close. It's actually not even close to worth my time. I do like expert witness and litigation, and attorneys pay me good money, and I don't have time to be sending out orders. But I'll let that load. And then in the meantime, Lux, you had a great question, and then I'm gonna get to yours. BP Bass. My ginkgo seedling seems to have a mushy wet base. Should I be worried? And what can I do? You're going to have to send me some pictures. And let me see if I can do at Lux 0149. info@arboristondemand.org. Send me some pictures and I'll be happy to take a look at it and tell you my humble 2 cents. What tree variety is the most susceptible to disease in the U.S.? This is a... What's that?
American elm, American ash,
yeah, emerald ash borer. Hands down, emerald ash borer right now is the top pest in the nation. Now, you asked specifically for disease. That one, I'm going to have to think about that one a little more. But the... Yeah. Let me ask the robot. But if we're talking pest, though, I would definitely say ash trees are hands down. They're toast, and they're so sad because we get I think it's like a 0.01% survival rate on them. But emerald ash borer came across, we think, in the mid to late 90s. We discovered it in 2002 in Milwaukee, or was Minnesota. Anyways, northern Pacific, up there in the great north, great beyond, and they basically our trees had never seen the emerald ash borer. So trees produce what's called allopathy, and the allopathy, if you think of our modern medicine, is allelopathy, and that's what we study, and that's what it basically means, like use of drugs. So we're getting down to the Greek on it, but the trees produce their own allelochemicals, and those allelochemicals are essentially nicotinoids, like insecticides, fungicides, things like that, even herbicides. Trees will put out herbicides to suppress other things wanting to grow up, and that's not good. But it definitely that's not good if it's in our front yard and we're trying to grow stuff under it. It's a great thing if you're fighting for the top spot in the forest. So that's a brilliant thing, and it'll actually suppress surrounding growth. And so trees produce that on their own. Well, here's the thing: is emerald ash borer comes to America. It comes from China, and they have 6 documents, if I understand that correctly, 6 documents ever recorded about emerald ash borer in the Chinese literature. And so we had to go through and find those and figure out what this thing was, because nobody'd seen it. And the reason it was so understudied there is because it didn't do a lot of damage to their trees. Their trees, over hundreds of years, had developed allopathy, those chemicals that are designed to suppress the pests, the pathogens, the things that want to eat the tree. And that's nature for you. That's how it goes. And oh man, that's a great point. CB, I don't know, DX6HY is tree of heaven with the lanternfly invasion. Yes, but that's an invasive species, so I'm not opposed to that, actually. Come have your way with them, spotted lanternfly. We're actually finding that is not nearly the problem that emerald ash borer is. It is not even close. Woolly adelgid actually is a much more damaging pest. The thing with the spotted lanternfly is they're really, really sensitive. People are killing them with Dawn soap, y'all. It's really not a big deal. They live fast and they die hard. Yes, the wine industry, we do not want it to get close. I don't want it. I like wine. We don't want it to destroy our grapevines. That seems to be its favorite food source.
Scale insect, eating insects that attack trees usually can just be wiped out with Dawn soap.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, like the worst damaging pests are just killed by like your dish soap in the kitchen. You don't even have to go to the hardware store to get drugs and chemicals for animals. So anyways, yeah, spotted lanternfly, it's a problem. In fact, my wife and I traveled for about 3 years with our son, and we went from East Coast to West Coast, and we were just kind of vagrants, off contract to contract. It was really fun. We sold our business in Dallas, and we were going from New Jersey. This is 2020 when COVID's hitting and everything, all the way over to the West Coast on a contract to California. And we get stopped by, it was like California Border Patrol, and they were from the U.S. Agriculture or California Agriculture Department, something like that. And they actually checked our vehicle, get this, for spotted lanternfly egg masses. They're so ninja. They just look like a little piece of mud, and they will grab onto any flat surface, basically. So, yeah, that's a good point, but I really think the where is it? Emerald ash borer is going to be the top one. Lucas is saying severely impacted by emerald ash borer, an invasive beetle that is decimated. A fungal disease that spreads. Okay, so this is... No, that's not what I was looking for. What'd you have with the... pine wilt, blister rust, maples. I see sick maples all the time. In fact, you all remember that I See Dead People, They're Everywhere? That was a great movie. Bruce Willis. And I see dead, unalived trees. They're everywhere, It's kind of like that for me. So anyways, great information. Thank you. Many hardwood forests are logged here in Virginia. They're all replanted with pine. Is that due to their relative fast-growing times? Absolutely. They're going to come in and mill that up in 15 years, dude. Yeah, I hate that because it's so bad. There's areas in Houston all around here. Houston grew up so fast, and so there was a ton of deforestation. In fact, longleaf pine is almost an extinct species here. There's a handful of them, and you can buy them and plant them, but they're very slow growing. They developed a really tight grain, and that's why some of your older homes here in Houston and Galveston area are really mold resistant. But the new ones, which are made of fast growing forests like those pines there in Virginia, they're gonna live fast and die hard. They're gonna come in and cut out 50% of them or whatever they're allotted. And that's that. But you asked about the dogwoods and how long living they are. There we go. What's the lifespan of a dogwood tree? Sorry, y'all, I'm getting old. I hit 40 about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. So I'm like an old man now, guys. I'm gonna have to start acting like it, I guess. But a lifespan of a dogwood tree, I've seen dogwood trees that were 80 and 100 years old. I haven't seen them more than that. From my understanding is they're very sensitive to fungal pathogens, and so. But you can go in an arboretum maybe and find some that are older than that. But I just haven't personally seen any. Hats on crooked there. There we go. Is that better, y'all? Showing too much forehead. All right, let's get back to our questions, y'all. That was fun. Thanks for playing trees with me. All right, so Anonymous, I think your tree looks great. I don't think you've got a problem there. What I would do is make sure your tree's getting plenty of nutriments. Pull a soil sample periodically and make sure your soil is not compacted. That's the main thing, y'all. Make sure your soil's not compacted. That's going to cut down on most of your problems. Tom. I got that Widowmaker ash down. Okay, so I think I remember seeing this briefly. Let's go back a little. How did that happen? It just went... Did you see that, Lucas? Jumped all the way to the top again. That's garbage. I remember seeing your stuff, Tom. Here we go. I'm cutting this Widowmaker tomorrow. I need the firewood, unalive standing ash, 36-inch base. By the way, that may or may not be due partially to emerald ash borer. I don't know. But where you at? Carving Works. I assume that's not your name. So maybe that's what you do. Should I ratchet strap or chain the trunk to prevent it from barber chairing too hard? Yes, with a split like that. Yes. I'm sorry I didn't tell you earlier, but yes. I have seen those rip apart mid-fell. And the guy, it's such a hazardous place to be. So imagine you've got a 36-inch tree and 18 inches of that, which is pulled by the entire top half of the tree, pops up. So all that force, however many pounds up here, leverages on that stump. That's what a barber chair is. It splits down the middle, and it basically just pops up. All that force from the top is transferred down to the base of it. So if you get hit with that, game over, man. It's going to knock your heads off, make you go flying. Like, you are not going to be anything to that tree barber chairing. So Clint says just bore cut it. I love that, Clint. Y'all check this out. Bore cut that's like one of my favorite ways to fell a tree. So you've got a tree here. That's a terrible tree. I don't even know how to draw root flares, y'all. Check it out. So you got a tree here. You've got your face cut here. And then what you do, instead of just coming around on the back and cutting the tree right here, what you do is you actually start from the middle and you cut a notch straight through the trunk. All the way through. You go all the way through, and then you basically bring the saw all the way back here. You do not go to the end. What you do is you come in on the bottom, preferably on the top sometimes, and you make a back cut, and what's left holding is just those little fibers growing up there. I don't even know if y'all can see that. I hope you can. That's pretty good stuff. So I'm like preaching facts here. So you come in here, you got your, can y'all see that? Lucas, tell me if it's like getting crazy. So you make your bore cut here, and then you come in and you bring it all the way back, as far back as you can. You want to leave about 10% right here, and then you come on separate and you cut on the top here. So what happens, the only thing that's holding it up is that little bit of fiber in between there. And so basically you pull just a little bit of the tree in that direction, and it's going to come right over. Sorry, hope you don't have vertigo back. Crazy. But it's called a bore cut. Yeah, I really like that idea, Clint. That's probably the safest way, in my humble opinion, to remove that. But also, I like that you said you put a chain and a strap around it. I think that's what your other post was. So a great answers, you guys. Way to go. That's exactly why we started this community, just to give good, solid advice to people looking for it about their trees. So check out what he did. He comes in and he ratchet straps it. He fells the tree, and nobody unalived. And unfortunately, oh, yeah, it doesn't look bad. It looks like the tree sealed up nicely. You could see where that kind of that zipper was. I think that's the line here. Maybe correct me if I'm wrong there, Tom. Looks super solid. Yeah. Well, that's after the fact, though, Michael. Hey, I owe you a text, though, brother. If you're watching, Michael, I'm sorry I've been kind of a flake getting back with you, but I owe you a phone call and a text at least, bare minimum. But anyways, moving on. Ron is asking. I love you too, by the way, Michael. You're a great guy. I'm sorry. I'm a bad friend. Anyways, you know kind of some of the stuff going on. Ron is asking, these photos are of a mulberry tree on my property in Louisiana. The tree is covered in burls and approximately 4 feet in diameter through the trunk. The tree appears to be ancient, but still produces mulberries. That is so cool. Would anyone venture a guess at the age of this tree? I'm guessing it's near the end of its life because it is in very poor condition with numerous hollows. Yeah, I'm guessing you're right. I don't think that mulberry tree, even at 4 feet in diameter, because you're measuring the burls too. I don't think that is nearly as old as you think it is, and I could be wrong. I could stand completely corrected on this, but I would wager that tree is probably between 60 and 80 years old. just speculation. Mulberries grow hard and fast. They can look really super cool with all those burls, though. And woodworkers love them. So worst case is when the tree goes back and finally does come down, keep those burls. Send them off or sell them to your... Get on even Facebook Marketplace. You can actually sell that stuff to woodworkers on there. So anyways, moving on. Farrah is asking, hi all, looking for some advice on our Melaleuca tree. That's fun. It has these tiny little holes all over it. Do you know what they are from? Bugs and critters and stuff. Sorry, that's sarcasm. That's rude. Yeah, those are borers, but it looks like they're entering and chewing and consuming the non-living tissue of the tree. If it's consuming the living tissue, that's a big problem. Farrah, I think it is. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, but yeah, it looks like it's a chicken and an egg situation. Which came first, the unalived tissue or the bugs? I think it was the unalived tissue. Bugs, borers are often, most often, I should say, a secondary pest. They'll go after the already damaged wood from something else. Typically, there's a stressor, and typically there's some sort of pathogen that weakens the tree, and then the borers can come in and start taking advantage. There are some exceptions, like the emerald ash borer is one. That's an exception because our trees here in America do not have the immunities to take care of them. But it looks to me like you've got some bugs that have been in that, but that's old news, and your tree seems to be in pretty good condition. But like I said, I'm always happy to get on a digital arborist consultation. You can feel free to schedule one here, but I do charge for that. It's $90, but I promise it's worth it. We go through a full game plan. I don't think it's woodpeckers. I think that's incorrect, but hopefully that helps. I just think it's secondary pests. I don't think it's a big deal. The tree looks fine. Trees look fine. They look old, too. Melaleucas grow pretty slow from what I understand. But I could stand corrected on that one, too. But
The ones that look like they're brittle.
yeah, that's a great point, Farrah. You can remove the limbs that are unalived. Like this whole limb looks like it looks like it's gone anyways. That looks like an unalived branch. I don't see it in these pictures, though. That's my only question. Maybe this one? But I'm not seeing... It looks like you used the fisheye lens, the 0.5 lens. But... Oh, that could be this one, too. I think that may be... Oh, here it is. Wait, is that it? Correct me if I'm wrong, Farrah. It looks like that's the limb. That looks like the limb in the pictures. I do see some unalived ones up top, too. So, yeah, you can get rid of that unalived tissue. It's not a part of the tree. It's not a big deal if you leave it, but it could drop easier, so... Liability mitigation. Eric's asking, hope that helps, Shara. Eric's asking, does anyone know if there may be an issue with this oak tree? I'm starting to get concerned as it extends over my house and garage. I'm in California. We've got a lot of rain recently. I appreciate it. Eric, I'm sorry. I don't really have enough information to go off of here. I need a little more information. It looks like some sort of a water oak or a red oak, something in the red oak family. Red oak, pin oak, white oak, laurel oak, things like that. Those tend to be weaker wooded oaks, so you might want to get a closer look at that. But there's a lot more considerations that we need to factor in with this tree, like the structure of the tree, like the overall health. It does look like there's some thinning branches out here, so less leaves out on the tips is going to be a weaker tree, generally speaking. Let's see if anybody else has any insight. 23 comments. Yeah, track certified, track BCMA. Brittle okay, yeah, that's a good point. Brittle cinder fungus. That is actually, I've had people confuse brittle cinder fungus with hypoxylin. Hypoxylin turns like this black tar looking mat on the tree. Brittle cinder looks more like bumpily, like kind of, I don't know. Y'all ever played Halo and you get the hive or whatever? They got that weird bumpily look on them. Or Stranger Things, the little creepy crawly things are kind of bumpily looking. That's like brittle cinder fungus, I guess. And hypoxylin's a little more smooth. So that could be brittle cinder fungus. If it is, you definitely want to get that addressed. But the best way is to find out from your local agriculture extension. Send them a sample. And again, I'm always happy to hop on a digital consultation as well and see if we can help you out there. But anyways, hope that helps. We're moving on. Chris Collins asking... Hello. I'm sorry if I'm yelling, by the way. Hello. You can just turn your volume down, probably. I do that. My wife will tell you all about how much I yell into the phone and into microphones, I guess. So, hello, I want to make a flagstone path, but I have several roots from my oak crossing. Can I cut these? They vary in size from 4 inches to 2 inches. Oh, 4 inches, a large supporting structural root. You do not want to cut that if you can avoid it. Why not just go over it? You got flagstone. You can move it and manipulate it. You might have to amend it, 2, 3, 10 years down the road, but I would not sever those at all. I just build it up. And then maybe make sure to decompact soil around it, because if you've got those roots coming up like that so high, you've probably got a compaction issue as well. That's typically roots. Literally, you've heard that term, coming up for air. That's not just for water. For humans and water, that's a root problem too. They'll literally grow up for air, and then when they get to where they want, they'll start growing out and branching out and producing those absorbing roots. But whenever there's a compacted soil, they have no oxygen in the soil, and so they're going to come up to the surface. And so if you want to avoid those surface roots, A, don't plant a bald cypress, and some of y'all get that, and B, make sure to decompact your soil. Make sure you're not just there's maintenance you got to do with your soil. Compost is a great way to do that over time, but then you can add some humic acid and things like that. That'll help restructure the soil. Calcium, believe it or not, is often a great solution as well. You don't want to just put down like lime. There's a great company called Soil Works, and they sell a wonderful product called GSR calcium. You can get about 80 grams of it or you can get like a pint almost. I think I don't remember how much I bought, but it's $80 for the whole thing, and it'll last you like 20 years. So anyways, Soil Works LLC. I'll go ahead and give them a shout out. Actually, it's kind of fun. Dr. Tom Dykstra is coming into town, and he partners up with Glenn Ravenbaugh, who is the founder of Soilworks LLC, and one of these guys are kind of some of my heroes in life. But I think you should just go up on it. Well, that's what he's saying. He's putting. Yeah, you can do a root bridge on that, but even with, I think with flagstone, he's probably okay. Just build it up a little extra with something like compost or sand. You don't want to put the decomposed granite right directly on it, because that actually can, they're like little, fibers, like little chunks of glass. They'll do a little damage. It'll callus the tree over a little bit. The tree will get used to it, but you're better off doing like a layer of sand, a layer of compost, and a layer of sand on top of it. That'll filter in over time and help to provide a base as well, by the way, for the tree. And then do that decomposed granite on top and add your flagstone in there and build your nice little walkway. But I don't think you need to sever any of those. I will say this: the roots are going to grow, so expect in 5 or 10 years to maybe have to amend it just a hair. But it's not a big issue. Try to avoid cutting those. And I see my buddy Sprouts on here. What's up, big guy? Right on. Glad you're here, dude. Hello. What's up from 80-degree weather? I'm sure it's not like that where you guys are. Up in the Great North. SJ.S121 is saying, I was a groundman for a guy in New Zealand. His dad was Dutch. He knew a trick or two. He would tell us about when they had to use horseback back in the day. I do not envy my forefathers in what they've pioneered in our industry. I do not envy them. I love chainsaws. I'm not going to lie. I love swinging an axe too. And I'll be honest, that's probably my favorite tool, just because it's really fun, and it builds character. And up north, up in the Great North, Sprout, they know I got to check that out, dude. But y'all know all about chopped wood twice heats. That's an old northern expression, from what I understand from my northern friends. And no, I am a hybrid guy. I like the Husqvarna 572. I like the Steel 462. I like the Steel 362 and 261. I like the Echo 355. You poured in advance that, dude. I'm telling you, it'll outpace the 201T all day. The 200s, not so much. But yeah, I like them all. I don't like Pull and Pro. you know. But I'm a all around guy. It depends. I actually had one of my favorite saws I've ever run because it had so much torque. Was an Echo, what is it, 800p, and it had 80 cc's, and it had just torque for days. I cut down a like a 40-inch hickory tree up in Iowa, and it was so funny because I'm like, I had it ported out, so it's pushing a little more power. I didn't advance the timing, but it's still got a little push to it, and I had it ported. So it's got a little more, maybe 10%, maybe 15% more speed and power. And I bore through this thing with a 48-inch bar, this hickory tree, dense wood. And I come back around and I do my snap cut. I do my bore cut with a trigger on the end. And then I had the guy in the skid steer. No kidding, 90-foot tall tree. We straight dropped it. I had a path, and we had my skid steer guy with a long rope pull that thing over. He drives up to me. He's like, "Dang, dude, I ain't never seen an Echo do that." I was like, "Yeah, well, you know, Echo makes good quality stuff." So steel, yes. Echo, yes. Husqvarna, yes. Chinese knockoffs, I'm not convinced. Although for the price, you can't beat it. But there's, it depends. My answer is it depends. For hand saws, Silky's my go-to. I like the Sugoi. That's the really thin one because I do a lot of finesse pruning, and I think Sprout just got a new Silky saw, and he loves it from what I remember. My most recent channel post has some pictures of some ash trees I pruned if you want to see it. Oh, on the topic of chainsaws, I got a steel for Christmas. Hey, that's amazing. Yeah, the Zubat's a really bad little boy. That's your starter saw, man. Once you get used to that one, the next saw is going to be a Tsurugi or a Sugoi if you want to make some bigger cuts. And if you want to get crazy with it, those Katana boys are like 2 feet of actual saw cutting action. You can cut as fast as most chainsaws. Congratulations on the steel, man. I'm sure you're going to have fun with that. The number one thing, though, don't cut your arm off. They'll do that. Sprout. Yeah, so you know how quick... What's up, Lucas?
Just so you know, we got a new comment that came in a couple minutes ago.
Okay.
And so when we get ready to end it, let's go back up to the top and answer this guy's question. He has a really good question about some abandoned tree that he wants to try to say.
Cool. I like it. I dig it. Yeah, we'll go back. We got a few more questions. Y'all were chit-chatting. As a minor chainsaw injury. Yeah, you want to see one? Let's see. Yeah, let's see if I can do it. I got to get the light on it. So you can kind of see the scar there. Yeah, that was a minor chainsaw injury from a steel 200T 30 feet off the ground. That was the third tree I ever climbed. So yeah, that was a minor chainsaw injury. But yes, even whatever chainsaw you got, the main thing is always use your PPE. Always have a helmet. You never know when you're going to kick back, and that little bit of plastic's going to save your skull. Always wear chainsaw chaps, and you guys have the climate for it too, so no excuses. Yeah, get the chainsaw chaps. Always cut with the bottom of the bar until you get really comfy with it, and then you can start playing. But always, that top arm, you always want to have your feet grounded. You want to have a solid triangle, and you want to have that top arm locked. Like, it doesn't move, period. It doesn't matter. Hellfire and windstorm, whatever. Like, your arm, your top arm that holds that top handle, do not ever let that break. And you want to have a slight bend to it so you don't mess up your arm too, your elbow. Anyways, back on trees, y'all. I could talk nerd tree stuff all day, every day. But I hope that helps, Chris. Sorry, we're talking shop over here, getting a little distracted. I would not cut them. I would build them up and I would build it up and just build a bridge right over it with that decomposed granite and with that sand. Sand's a little smaller particle, so you'll do less damage to the roots. All right, so we talked about that one. Let's do maybe a couple more and head back up north to the top and see what Lucas was talking about here. Hello, I am in Seattle and have a very tall and old Douglas fir in my I have 3 very old and tall Douglas firs in my yard. I recently noticed that one of them has 2 very strange branches growing up about 60 feet. I'm guessing the trees are about 100 foot tall. The bark is tan and smooth. Does anyone know what is going on here? I actually had a nightmare about these branches. That's hilarious. I hope I'm not offensive here, but that's hilarious. It could be a sport. naturally genetic alteration, adaptation limb. There's a weeping form of Douglas fir. These weeping trees are usually taken from a mutation like this and then grafted onto a rootstock. As Abby said, those are hangers, likely broken out in the storm. I don't see hangers, but if it is, yeah, get those out of there. We call them widow makers. You don't know when they're going to fall. Oh, yeah, okay. Okay, yeah, that looks like a widow maker. That looks like a hanger. The limb broke off in a storm and it's just hanging there. That would be one you want to hire a professional to come in and get. You want to get those out of the tree because if they do dislodge on their own, that could be a real problem. I'm wondering though, like if I'm looking from the top down here, like the top is at the bottom right of the screen here, down here, and that's looking down the tree. Is that just a really, really tall limb that's growing up? And if it is, it's not a problem other than it can do damage to those other branches. So you want to get it out of there from that sense. We call it structural pruning, and you want to get rid of those as they're growing up. But if that's from the top growing down, that's a hanger or a widowmaker, and you want to get it out of there for sure, Linda. By the way, Amato is a great last name. I got a friend of mine, Jeff, down in Florida. I got a call. He's a good dude and a great arborist. Actually, he never got certified, but he's a phenomenal arborist. Knows a ton, and he's kind of in the research world. Anyways, we're moving on. Marion Williams. Hi, everyone. I have a spot in Central Texas. We've lost most of the trees in the immediate area around the mobile home. Mobile. Except for, come on now. This is what I'm talking about, Lucas. You see it doing that? It's getting crazy. Both are infested with mistletoe. I've been told the trees will eventually... No, we talked about that. We talked about it. Maybe for 3 minutes, so maybe backtrack 3 minutes. All right, so Marion is asking, hi everyone, spot in Central Texas, lost most of the trees in the immediate area around the mobile except for 2 of unknown species. Those are hackberries, I believe. If it is Central Texas, I think those are hackberries. Could be wrong. Let's check out what you got to say. Both are infested with mistletoe. That's one reason why I think it's hackberry. I've been told, yeah, mistletoe loves a good tasty hackberry to grow in. I've been told the trees will eventually unalive if they are not removed. I've researched a bit on the various methods. I remember your question, Marion. That was a great question, too. Limited on resource, and being limited on resource, we'd like to know more about the chemical approach and light deprivation to unalive the mistletoe. These are the 2 ways to do it. There's Ephthalon, I believe it is, which is the brand name is Florel, makes a product that is a growth regulator. It's actually a deflowering agent and it just happens to unalive mistletoe very, very nicely. If those are not really practical, is it realistic to rent an extension ladder to take the pruning approach? Another risk is whether this needs to be done quickly or can it wait until maybe next year? I do really want to save the trees. It's not an urgent matter, but the longer the mistletoe stays in the tree, the more harm it's going to do to the tree. So you want to get it out of there ASAP. Urgent, no. Important, yes. And important things should be considered urgent as soon as urgent stuff is cleared. So that's my humble opinion. There's Matt philosophy. Come on now. There he goes again. It's doing the same thing. Jumps up. So I did, Marion and I talked. We did talk about the, basically, it's Florel is the name of it. I think it's Ephthalon. Maybe that's spelled right. Yeah, maybe it's spelled right. And I could be wrong in that. Epsilon could be something else, but I'm pretty sure that may be Snipper I'm thinking of. Anyways, okay. Texas cedar elm and hackberry. I see the hackberry. I don't see the cedar elm, but that sounds right. Yeah, Kristen Mask. I don't know you. You're an arborist, I guess, in Texas? That's cool. Yeah, both of them are going to be very prone to mistletoe. Yeah, I like cutting it out, and you can actually not get on a ladder. Just use a pole loppers. You'll spend maybe $100 on a decent quality set. If you want to go really fancy and get the professional grade stuff, then you'll spend about $300. But Jameson is a great brand. You just get the pole saws. You can cut it out and then use a pole extension with a little sprayer on it. They make those in the painting world, by the way. You got to get them at like Home Depot or whatever, but you can do all of that work from the ground. Try to stay off a ladder because ladders and people in gravity don't mix very well. I actually have fallen out of a ladder before, and thank God I made it. I was fine. Walked away from it. So I don't recommend it. And by the way, the feet move. So ladders are not a trusted source of aerial access, in my humble opinion. All right. White oak started from seed, seeing what happens through winter. I like it. If it gets super, super cold, make sure to protect it. You could probably just cover it up, but putting in some sort of heating source out there, like heater tape or even incandescent light bulbs, like string lights or Christmas lights, the old school ones, that tends to be fine. Depends where you're at too. I don't know where you're at. All right, moving on. Let's do this last one, and we're gonna head up north. Ooh, that's fun. Can you stop a kickback in 0.15 seconds? No, you cannot. Humans are not physically capable of reacting to a kickback. That has been proven. I think it's something to the degree of like 8 or 10 times. The chainsaw is moving 8 or 10 times what our reaction speed is. So, can you stop a kickback in 0.15 seconds? Absolutely not. I don't know why this is here. We need to get rid of this. It is a cool drop, though. We'll get rid of that later because I want to watch it drop. That's crazy. He's on top of like a rock. There's like a boulder there that the tree's growing around. So, anyways, Askel, I think you're 0 followers. I think you're a robot and you need to go. From Calgary, Alberta. You better speak now or forever hold your peace. Otherwise, I'm going to kick you. All right, so Lucas said that we got a really cool first one up here. Hopefully, you're not going to stump the arborist. That'd be embarrassing. That'd be super embarrassing if I didn't know the answer. Oh, cool. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I see that. Tom Pura. I'm in East Texas. In the community I live, we have an area where there is a greenhouse and a good amount of peach trees. The downside is that the trees have been abandoned to themselves and no one has cared for them for years. I'm looking for help on how to get them ready for the season. I'm assuming by ready for the season, you mean you want more fruit production on them. And unfortunately, there's not a good amount of information here. It really helps Tom to get some pictures on there as well. And so if you can send me pictures of the area, that'd be cool. Seeing them, I don't know how old they are. I don't know what condition they are in. But generally speaking, for a peach tree to be healthy and produce a lot of growth, you actually want to trim it back by about 1/3. And again, check it out, y'all. We want to make sure to make good, proper pruning wounds. Don't go getting crazy. Don't go hack, chopping, and slicing trees, y'all. You can do some real damage in one pruning session. But what you want to do is like on these peach trees. So you got a branch here. What you're going to do is cut them back by 1/3. So if this is your branch and it grows from this branch or whatever, we're just making stuff up here. Big old fluffy. The happy tree, in the words of Bob Ross. What you want to do is you want to prune it back by about 1/3. Maybe that's a bad representation. By about 1/3. And the reason being is that the fruit's going to produce on the new growth. And so no flush cuts. That's right. No flush cuts. But you do want to reduce those branches back on a peach tree. And part of the reason, the reason why, words and stuff, y'all. Part of the reason why is because those peaches tend to get really, really heavy, especially if you do what I say and they grow like crazy. The other thing is you want to give them the right resources. Your first and foremost is very important. You want to make sure you do not have a compacted soil. If you got to drill a hole and like you just push it down into the soil and drill into it a little bit, like an earth auger, like a 1-inch earth auger. See how hard it is to get that drill down. If you use a cordless, that's usually a good reference point because it'll generally stall out most cordless drills if it's too compacted. But that's going to give you a baseline. You can do that and continue using like a stair step pattern and backfill with compost. And that's a technique called vertical mulching. That's going to help give oxygen to the soil, feed the good beneficial microbes that are going to give that tree what it needs. Because the thing is that a stress tree is not going to produce a lot of fruit, or it's going to produce an excessive amount of fruit that's not really going to be very edible, and it's going to be very susceptible to diseases. The thing is, and again, there's a guy, Dr. Tom Dykstra. You can go to his website at dykstralabs.com. Yes, Sprout, that's a great question. I'm going to get to that question here in just a minute because that's a really good question. Okay, so so Tom Dykstra talks about basically sugar as the main thing that a tree needs to thrive. And essentially he's got three PhDs in entomology. That's nuts, by the way. That's a true nerd, if you will, and somebody that I look up to. And he talks about how if a tree has enough sugar, it does not have pest problems. And so that's going to be your biggest thing is when you start producing fruit, the pests find out too. All that delicious, healthy, yummy food, so many nutrients and nutritions and such. If we're talking to Justin Grego, hopefully he's here, but all that delicious fruit, it's tasty to us. It's also tasty to bugs. And so they're going to want to go after that. There's a bunch of them that attack peaches, and depends on where you're at too. Oh, East Texas. Okay. So you've got really good kind of sandy, loamy soil, sandy, loamy, clay soil, like a really good soil, lush soil in East Texas. And that's why the piney forests are up there too, by the way. And so make sure you got oxygen. If you want to give it a health boost, you can do things like molasses and humic acid. And those are going to really help to feed the microbes and feed the tree. It's also the humic acid, if you've got too much of a clay binding soil, like if it's in an HOA, which it sounds like maybe it is, maybe I could be wrong. Then you're going to have kind of a dense soil probably where they came in and they built up the soil to be more a higher PSI. And essentially what that's designed to do is hold the house up. That's a good thing. We don't want our houses to fall. So I don't know, but if you've got a really compacted soil, you got to decompact it. Vertical mulching would be my first choice. And then the other thing is prune it back right now, because I'm in South Texas, you're in East Texas. You want to prune it back about right now, and that's going to, and again, go by about a third. You also want to create kind of a vase type shape. So I don't know how old they are. That's why I need that extra info, Tom, but prune the dead wood out of it. If you see any diseased tissue, get that out of there too. It's going to be hard to tell that right now, but and then give it humic acid and molasses. You could do some fish emulsion too for some extra nutriments and such, and that should help. There's let me see if I can find it here. There's a product that I really like that would go a long ways in helping yours out. This one right here. So Maximum Blooms is designed for flowers, but it actually works really well for sorry, I almost closed out the live stream. Works really well for fruiting trees as well, because all the fruit comes from a flower. That's how reproduction works, y'all. Male and female. I won't go into the specifics, but you get it. Essentially, you need a flower in order to produce a fruit. That's the offspring, and you need various parts of the flower to happen. And that's where cross-pollination is really going to help. That's awesome. So yeah, I hope that helps, Tom. But what a great question, man. And again, if you want a closer look at it, I'm happy to get on board with you, and we'll just figure out exactly what you need to do and get a good care plan so you can get the maximum production out of it, man. I think that'd be a super cool story to tell, especially kind of my Texas neighbor there, Tom. But anyways, hope that helps. Let's get to a couple of live questions, and then we are going to call it a night, you guys. All right, I'm growing some white oak, silver maple, catalpa, and a red pine that sprouted up, and I'm keeping them warm. Warming, saving the garage. Yeah, garage is a great place too. You can put it's walled in, right? You get a nice protection from the wind and elements. Induction transfers of heat is how most trees are going to lose. And wind, as it's pushing all that hot air away, then it's actually going to make it a lot colder, a lot faster. So in high winds, you can get worse freezing conditions than low winds. So, yeah, keeping them in Europe north. So if it gets like super cold, bro, you can start a little fire and keep a little heat going in there, or you can put again, an incandescent light, something of that sort, and see if that helps. But yeah, no flush cuts. Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. Too many butchered trees. I agree. But you're also, Sprout was also asking, can normal lawn aeration help soil compaction? Actually, yes. Those things typically go, it's usually only about 2 or 3 inches deep into the soil, but believe it or not, 85% of the tree's feeder roots are in that top 6 inches. So the top 3 feet is where most of the roots are, if not all, on most trees actually, especially in our built environment, in our urban environment, because all the concrete, islands we create and everything, there's not a lot of room for roots to grow. So most of them are going to be in that top layer, but then especially those feeder roots are in the top 6 inches. So yes, you can absolutely help it by doing a normal lawn aeration. I really like vertical mulching better though, because you get a better coverage of the root system, and you push that organic matter deeper into the soil profile. So that's going to affect all the surrounding area, and then if you do like a top coating, all the rains and all that will help sift all that good biological process through the soil. And last question before we're going to call it, y'all, before pruning it. Watch some videos about reduction cuts and stare at pruning diagrams for hours like I did this year. Somehow that helped me get started getting curious about trees. I love it. Hey, whatever works, dude. Turns out trees are good for humans. So if it's good for trees, it's good for humans in my book. And that's part of why I do what I do. Is I love people and I love helping people. And it turns out that trees, by helping people with their trees, we're helping people, and we're helping their neighbors and their communities neighbors, and like everybody, it's a community benefit. So when it's good for trees, it's good for people's, plain and simple. Y'all don't need to see my calendar here from last week. What you need to see is my bad. We didn't have a lot going on because I was vacating. treesaregood.org. And again, this is put on by the International Society of Arboriculture. This is their very own website, and they have some partners in the deal as well. But this is a wonderful resource for regular average Joe. So when Sprout talks about watching all those good videos, here's another great resource. There's some good stuff on the interwebs, of course, but sometimes you get some bad information to go with the good information. So if you look at tree owner resources here, go to treesaregood.org. I don't know why I'm pointing at the screen. You can't see what I'm pointing at. This is what you see. Go to treesaregood.org, click on the tree owner resources, and then you can actually just go right down here to pruning your trees, and it's going to give you some good resources. Worldwide wood page, pruning techniques. So if you go here, artsandculture.google. I don't even know what this is. I've never looked at this, but pruning techniques, they actually have pruning resources for you guys. And of course, Lucas and I are working on coming up with our own little database for you as well. Just provide a good resource for you tree owners and tree owner-like accessories to be able to make the right decisions with your trees, because again, if it's good for trees, it's good for us people. So that's it for tonight, you guys. Thanks so much for being here and being a part of this community. We've really built a cool thing, and we're just growing and growing and growing. Little public service announcement, y'all. Lucas and I are working on some really cool technology. We're building a handful of actually applications that we're designing to be able to go out and be a good resource for you guys again. One of those is going to have to do with actually being able to upload a picture of your tree, find out exactly what the best pruning style and method would be, using some cool AI robot technology and all of that, as well as kind of an all-around good resource for trees. If you have questions about it, it's going to be, I'm not going into too many details, but it's going to be kind of like my book that I'm writing is going to be. It's basically going to be a go-to resource if you're a tree owner or a tree manager. So that's the whole point in it, is again, as I love people, and trees are just too stinking good for people not to teach you guys how to do it better, and just take care of your trees and be better stewards. All right, a couple more comments and we're calling it, y'all. So howdy, thanks for joining us, Austin. Great to see you, buddy. Ooh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, how's it been, man? Yeah, it's good to see you, bro. Milwaukee, ice storms and snowstorms, long storm shifts. I'm so sorry to hear that. I was up there in early November. I'm glad I got out just in time, it sounds like. Back here to my safe 80-degree weather back home. So I'm dying here, y'all. We got to kick the AC on. It's ridiculous. But again, thank you all so much for watching. If you want a closer look at your trees or help with your litigation case regarding trees, or you've got an insurance claim regarding trees, it's always good to have a guy like me on board. We can guide you through. The other day I was helping a client. It was a real quick one in, take a look at the tree, write a report, send it off to the insurance company. They wanted to actually deny his coverage because, can you believe it? He had a tree that was like 300 years old growing over his roof. That's crazy, y'all. So we just wrote the report, sent it off to him, and did that, and he gets to keep his insurance. So they couldn't refute what we said about how safe and good this tree was. And so anyways, so I do stuff like that all day, every day. I work with insurance companies, I work with attorneys, and I work for regular tree owners and managers just like you guys. I even have a service where we work with companies that deal with trees or manage trees on a weekly and sometimes or on a monthly and sometimes even weekly basis. And so head over to arboristondemand.org or .com. Here it is, just arboristondemand.com. And if you want to schedule a consultation, I'd love to help you out with your unique situation. And if you're a professional, head over here to the Pro Arborist Support Plan or Program. We're changing it, Pro Arborist Partner Program. So it's an acronym there. Y'all can read into that what you will. But anyways, oh yeah, good question, Sprout. The one we're talking about was growing next to the tree, next to the house, but it was growing, the limbs were growing over the roof, or the house growing under the tree. Yeah, that's right. That's a good question. Yeah, so this is just, it's silly, but like they come in and they're like, well, trees over houses break and they cause us to lose money, so we're going to cancel everybody. So anyways, love to help you guys out in any way we can. Again, arboristondemand.com. And we'll be back Thursday night coming at you. We got to get caught up, y'all. So we're going back to 2 times a week for now until the next foreseeable future, and we get caught up and answer all y'all's great tree questions. Thanks again for being here. We'll see you guys next time. Bye now.